A lovely evening here from the coastal city of Mogadishu, Somalia's administrative center. Welcome to Somalia premier #1 station for news and updates, Dalsan TV. 1st of December 2023, 30 days to go for the year to end. Welcome to our tonight prime time news edition. But first, kindly have a look at some of our top stories. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud arrives in Dubai for the United Nations Climate Conference. Galmudug State leader champions for the NCC meeting convention. Somali People Defense Forces leader warns of Al-Shabaab resurgence in liberated areas. Somali National Disaster Management Agency conducts workshop on flood contingency. Glad to have you back. Now let's delve into our full bulletin. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has on Thursday arrived in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, to take part in the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP28. The World Conference, which kicked off on November 27th, is set to conclude on December 8th, gathers leaders from across the globe and seeks to endorse the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has on Thursday arrived in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, to take part in the United Nations Climate Change Conference. The World Conference, which kicked off on November 27th, is set to conclude on December 8th, gathers leaders from across the globe and seeks to endorse the Paris Agreement and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and enhance the global response to the threat of climate change. President Mohamud will present the United Nations Climate Conference attendees the negative impact of climate-induced shocks on the Somali people. Somalia is among the vulnerable cohort of nations struggling with existential climate-induced threats wrought by protracted droughts, epic flooding, and rising sea levels that threaten to swallow small island states. It's also among the countries least responsible for global warming, though it routinely appears on the list of the countries most impacted by the climate change. Somalia has contributed less than 0.03% of the world greenhouse gas emission, but is the world's second most vulnerable country to the impact of climate change. The president is also to call for international humanitarian support to help the millions of families who have been ravaged by torrential rains that have devastated homes and lives. On the sidelines of the conference, the head of state is scheduled to hold meetings with other world leaders in a bid to bolster cooperation between East African nations and countries worldwide. Galmudug State President Ahmed Abdi Qorqor held a meeting with members of both houses of the federal parliament in Mogadishu on Thursday. Qorqor urged the lawmakers to advocate for the recent National Consultative Council meeting outcome, which endorsed a range of critical issues pertinent to the nation, including the universal suffrage elections.
Galmudug State President Ahmed Abdi Qorqor held a meeting with members of both houses of the federal parliament in Mogadishu on Thursday. They discussed a raft of issues, including the current security and political situation. Qorqor briefed the members about his government's agenda for implementing development projects in the regional state. He highlighted the need for a concerted effort to address the challenges facing the region, especially the current flood situation that the Horn of Africa nation is grappling with, following heavy torrents that have been pounding the country. The regional state leader also underscored his government's efforts to eradicate the Al-Shabaab militant group that has been causing instability in the region. Furthermore, Qorqor urged the lawmakers to advocate for the recent National Consultative Council meeting outcome, which endorsed a range of critical issues pertinent to the nation, including the universal suffrage elections. In a departure from clan-based power sharing, the leaders agreed that one-person, one-vote elections will take place once every 5 years. A 15-member National Election and Border Committee will be formed to manage all local, regional and federal elections. The local council elections will be the first to take place on June 30th of next year. This will be followed that year by regional parliamentary and regional leadership elections on November 30th, the communique read. Galmudug State is among the federal states in Somalia that have been under the mercy of Al-Shabaab for a long time, which has stagnated development. However, successive operations conducted by the Somali National Army, backed by local fighters, have borne fruit with the capture of several strategic towns from the grip of the Islamist group.
The Somali Disaster Management Agency has today concluded a validation workshop on flood contingency planning for Beledweyne and Johar towns in the Hirshabelle state. According to a statement from the agency, important reports and discussions were presented by participants focusing on the specific situation and knowledge of the environment in general.
The Somali National Disaster Management Agency, or SODMA, has today concluded a validation workshop on flood contingency planning for Beledweyne and Johar towns in Hirshabelle State. According to a statement from the agency, important reports and discussions were presented by the participants, focusing on the specific situation and knowledge of the environment in general. The members of SODMA, officials from Beledweyne and Johar district offices, and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs of Hirshabelle attended the workshop. The National Disaster Agency has in recent days stepped up and coordinated humanitarian aid to families ravaged by the current flood situation in the country, which has claimed the lives of over 100 people and displaced more than 1 million others. The agency has so far distributed assorted relief food to families devastated by the floods across the country. Somalia is currently grappling with never-before-seen flooding that has submerged homes, leaving the Somali people to move to safer grounds.
The People's Defense Forces leader Ali Jeite Osman declared president of the Hiran state reported a resurgence of the Al-Shabaab group in areas liberated from their control 1 year earlier. In his public address, Jeite stressed the importance of combating Al-Shabaab, calling for the support of residents in areas under the group's control. Our fight against Al-Shabaab is imperative, as he said in a statement. Here is the full story. The People's Defense Forces leader Jeite Ali Osman, self-declared president of Iran state, reported a resurgence of the Al-Shabaab group in areas liberated from their control 1 year earlier. In his public address, Jeite stressed the importance of combating Al-Shabaab, calling for the support of residents in areas under the group's control. The remarks came after similar warnings was issued in recent weeks to those under Al-Shabaab's control. Aside from that, Jeite claimed credit for reopening of the important Beledweyne-Bulaburte route, emphasizing that there have been no reports of Al-Shabaab activity along this route since its reopening. He chided Al-Shabaab insurgents for their 15-year road blockade, curtailing free movement of people and goods. The remarks made by the Maoist-led leader coincide with a discernible decline in anti-Al-Shabaab activities across the country. Lovely viewers, that's all we are prepared for you tonight from our desk in Mogadishu. I wish to thank my team that made this news bulletin a success, and you are a lovely viewer wherever you're watching us from. Have yourselves a lovely night.